Another night, another win for the Golden State Warriors inside of Chase Center over the New Orleans Pelicans. Welcome into Warriors Wrap Up on 95.7 The Game. Marc Grandi with you tonight. The Dubs knock off the Pelicans 104-89. The final score. The Warriors sweep this home two-game series, if you will, on back-to-back nights over the Pelicans. The Warriors now 4-1 on the year. The Pelicans, who were 2-1 coming into this, both teams were 2-1. They fall to 2-3. The Warriors have put some distance between themselves and the Pelicans, a couple of Western Conference teams. But it was a win that the Warriors, you figured that they should get once you saw the injury report leading into this basketball game, even though the Warriors have injuries that they're dealing with on their own. Stephen Curry out again tonight. D'Anthony Melton out again tonight. Andrew Wiggins was questionable all game long. He tried to warm up pregame and wasn't quite ready, so he did not play tonight either. Those same three did not play last night in the Warriors' blowout, turned into a blowout win over the Pelicans after they were down by 20 points in the first half. For the Pelicans, they were again without DeJounte Murray and without Trey Murphy III. We knew that. They didn't play last night either, and they are not close to playing just yet. But then we also found out that the Pelicans were going to be without C.J. McCollum and Herb Jones. And I guess depending on how you think the Pelicans might structure a starting five, those four guys that I just mentioned, DeJounte Murray, Trey Murphy, Herb Jones, and C.J. McCollum, that might be four of their five starters if they're fully healthy. So this was a Pelicans group that was severely undermanned, and the Warriors kind of controlled the basketball game from the beginning, and they earn a nice win, 104-89, the final score. And the Warriors did it with defense in this basketball game. We've seen them already on the year, just 5 games in, 4-1 through 5 games. We've seen the Golden State Warriors win in a number of different ways. This is a Warriors team that has won with offense. They've blown teams away with scoring. Think about the Pelicans game last night. That's one where you just could not miss in the second half. They ultimately won that game with 124 points last night. But even the Portland game in Utah, Buddy Hield going crazy, specifically in that Utah game. You've shown that you can win basketball games in different ways, and tonight they did it with defense. The Pelicans only scored 89 points. That's the fewest points they've scored in a game this year, and I know it's relatively young, the season that is. 89 points for the Pelicans. Their previous low was 103, so 14 points lower than their previous season low. The Pelicans only shot 36.7% from the field. They made 33 of their 90 field goal attempts tonight. 33 for 90. That was their lowest and worst field goal percentage of the year, 36.7 tonight. The previous low was 42% earlier this year, and it's their second worst percentage from downtown. That was the one area where they weren't absolutely terrible shooting-wise. They shot 30% from downtown, a little over 30%, not great, but not absolutely terrible. For comparison, the Warriors from downtown only shot 34%, but they shot 47% as a team from the field. They got a lot of looks down around the rim, and for a team that is going up against Zion Williamson, who dominates the paint like few other players in the NBA, the Warriors dominated the points in the paint matchup. I mean, Trayce Jackson-Davis had himself an awesome game, scoring 15 points to lead all Warriors starters. By the way, the Warriors' 2 leading scorers were off the bench, Buddy Hield and Jonathan Kuminga. We'll talk more about that in a little bit, but Trayce Jackson-Davis leading the way down low with 15 points, also had 9 rebounds, 7 of 9 from the field. He's been very efficient shooting the basketball so far this year, and points in the paint, again, favored the Warriors 56-34, and this is against a team in the Pelicans who like to live around the rim, especially a game like tonight where you're down shooters in C.J. McCollum. You already know you were going to be without Trey Murphy III. This was a game, and really last night too, where the Pelicans had to get down into the paint and try to score that way. They did it a little bit better last night. I can bring up the box score from last night where the Pelicans' points in the paint outscored the Warriors 52-46. 52 points in the paint last night for the Pelicans. You take away some outside shooting, and they only get 34 points in the paint tonight. Now, part of the reason is it's a smaller pie. I mean, they scored 106 points last night. They score 89 today, so 17 fewer points to go around. But if you were to, do it on a percentage of the points scored, the Pelicans scored a much lower percentage of their points in this entire game from in the paint than they did last night. So a big improvement there. And it was, I think mostly, it was Draymond Green defensively on Zion Williamson. Zion was so good last night here at Chase Center on Tuesday night when he scored 31 points on 12 of 19 from the field. He just scored 12 points tonight, 5 of 20. He got one more field goal attempt up tonight and scored 19 fewer points. After being super efficient last time out, Zion Williamson was incredibly inefficient. 5 for 20 from the field, and he also struggled from the free throw line. Got to the line 7 times. By the way, that in and of itself, you only allow 7 free throw attempts for Zion. You should chalk that up as a win. The Pelicans only shot 20. I say only. That's a decent number. 7 from Zion. Coming into this little 2-game series against the Pelicans, he had been averaging 12 free throw attempts per game. He got 7 up tonight, and last night he got up 8. So the Warriors held him under his average on consecutive nights. You'll take that. And he struggled from the line, and the Chase Center crowd was loving it all game long. But Draymond was absolutely phenomenal on Zion Williamson defensively. He was frustrated every single drive that resulted in a miss. He was complaining to the refs, wanting a foul. He got a couple of them, but not as often as last night it felt, and it just felt like he was frustrated the whole way. Draymond was doing the frustrating of Zion Williamson, and that was a big plus for the Golden State Warriors tonight. So they get a win, 104-89. The Dubs now 4-1. The Pelicans fall to 2-3, and the Warriors took care of business. I think most of us coming into this 2-game series, knowing that the Warriors were going to be without Steph Curry, without DeAnthony Melton for sure for both, and likely without Wiggins for both. That's how it turned out. I think most Warrior fans would have been content with a split. Get out of this at 3-2 at the worst, and then go out on the road and maybe try to play 50-50 ball, potentially without Steph for a couple of those games, and return home a little right around 500, maybe a little bit above. But the Warriors handle business, and they win both of their games, and now they go out on a long Eastern Conference road trip, East Coast road trip, a lot of games against the Eastern Conference. And you might be able to put together a little bit of streak if you continue to playing good basketball. So tonight was a big step in the right direction for the Golden State Warriors. It's Warriors wrap up here on 95.7 The Game. Marc, Grandi with you, and I want to hear from you guys. You can give me a call, 888-957-9570. That's also the Comcast Business text line, and I'm bringing up the text line as we speak. We'll read off some of your text messages as we react to this Warriors basketball game here on 95.7 The Game. The Warriors went with a new starting lineup for the second consecutive game. I guess going back to the game against the Clippers, this is their third consecutive different starting lineup because they went with the same lineup against the Clippers that they did games 1 and 2, then changed for game 4. And then changed again here for Game 5. The only difference tonight versus last night was Lindy Waters in the starting lineup over Buddy Hield, who came off the bench once again. And Moody started again. Draymond started. Trayce Jackson-Davis started. And Brandon Podziemski. So it was Podziemski along with Moody, along with Lindy Waters, Draymond Green, and Trayce Jackson-Davis, and Buddy Hield was one of the first Warriors off the bench in this basketball game. And if you ever need an example of maybe why we read into who starts a little bit too much, just look at Buddy Hield. Buddy Hield did not start tonight, and he led the Warriors in scoring. Buddy Hield led the Warriors in scoring tonight. Off the bench, he got 21 points. The next highest Warrior was Jonathan Kuminga, also off the bench. The Warriors' 2 leading scorers came off the bench tonight. Hield 21, Kuminga 16. Hield played 29 minutes. A few Warriors played more. Podziemski played quite a bit more. He played 38 minutes, Podziemski did tonight, despite taking a shot late in the basketball game. He was going for a rebound off a Draymond block, kind of got upended and cut underneath as he was leaping in the air for a rebound, landed hard on his left arm, looked like he was holding his left wrist. He stayed in the game, seems like he's fine, but it was a scary moment. But he played 38 minutes. Then you've got Moses Moody and Draymond Green both barely eclipsing 30 minutes in total. Lindy Waters 2 seconds shy of 30 minutes. Hield at 29 and Kuminga just over 27. So Kuminga and Hield playing the 5th and 6th most minutes tonight for the Golden State Warriors, and they were both off the bench. And they were the Warriors' 2 leading scorers in this basketball game. And I think as we continue to try to sort through who starts and who comes off the bench, obviously the easy way to respond to that is just, well, who's closing? That might still be problematic at times for the Warriors because I think they're finding out there's a lot of different combinations that do have the ability to work. But, I mean, coming off the bench or not, starting or coming off the bench, if you're playing like 27, 28, 29, 30 minutes, I don't know how much it really matters. And I think Buddy Hield is a great example of that. He started last night, remember, and then Lindy Waters came out of nowhere in the second quarter, and Steve Kerr said, you know what, buddy? You're coming off the bench to begin the second half last night. Don't know exactly how the conversations go in the locker room, but I would imagine Buddy Hield was fine with it, and he didn't start tonight, seemed fine with it, got up 19 shots tonight, wasn't terribly efficient, 8 for 19, 4 of 12 from downtown, got it going a little bit more in the second half. He helped the Warriors build a 20-point lead at one point in the fourth quarter, and he helped the Warriors cruise in the second half to another double-digit victory. 104-89 was the final score tonight. So good moments there for the Golden State Warriors coming off the bench, and overall it was a balanced offensive effort. I talked about Hield and Kuminga off the bench leading the way offensively, 21 points for Hield and 16 for Kuminga. This was a true strength and numbers game for the Warriors. 6 players scored in double figures, 3 starters, and 3 guys off the bench. 6 players in double figures, and 3 of them were off the bench. The aforementioned Hield and Kuminga with 21 and 16 respectively. Then Trayce Jackson-Davis had 15. He was very good in this game. By the way, the 2-man game that's developing between Brandon Podziemski and Trayce Jackson-Davis, it is lethal. Whether it's a pick and roll or it is pick and roll between Podziemski and Trayce Jackson-Davis, or if it's Draymond the ball handler, Podziemski setting a screen, Draymond passes to a rolling Podziemski, and then from the short corner, as Podziemski drives in with the ball in his hands, Trayce Jackson-Davis cuts in from the corner. Podziemski throws the easy lob, and it's an easy 2 points. Like, there is quite a chemistry developing between those two youngsters, and I think they kind of feel that because they're rookies together. They came in the same year. I know they were roommates at least last year. Not sure if they're still roommates now, but they spent a lot of time, or at least they lived in the same building last year, and they spent a lot of time with each other. So they've got quite a relationship and a really nice chemistry building for the Golden State Warriors right now, and it was on display tonight. Trayce Jackson-Davis was really good, leading all starters for the Warriors in points with 15. Draymond Green had 14, and Brandon Podziemski had 13 points. I thought Draymond Green was really, really good in this basketball game. I already talked about what he did defensively on Zion Williamson. Zion got Draymond often last night, and you could tell Draymond was frustrated by it. It was the other way around tonight. Zion was the frustrated one. Draymond, who was on him for the majority of this basketball game, held him to 5 for 20 from the field. He was really good on that end. But it was also Draymond Green, believe it or not, that sparked the Warriors on offense. If you recall, early in the second quarter, the Warriors built a 12-point lead. It was 32-20 early in the second quarter. Then New Orleans, they go on a 16-2 run to take a 2-point lead with about 6 minutes to go in the second quarter. I think Steve Kerr called the timeout there. They got reset, and then what happened? Draymond scored 8 quick. He made a 3. He got a bucket down low, and then another 3. 8 points quick, and kind of jump-started the Warriors' offense. Got them ahead by 4 at halftime. He scored 6 more points early in the third quarter, another 3. and a three-point play. He had 14 points in about like a 10-minute span of game time, spanning the first half and the second half. And those 14 points, which were all 14 that he scored, kind of came again in like 10 minutes spanning the second and third quarters. That was a big reason why the Warriors built a 16-point lead in the third quarter. It was 69-53 at one point. They eventually built it up to 20 in the fourth quarter, but I'm not sure they ever get there unless Draymond hits some shots offensively. And I know Buddy Hield was quoted in the post-game presser earlier today. Let me see if I can pull up that quote here for you in just a second. He was quoted about Draymond Green shooting. And hold on, give me 1 sec as I try to find this quote on Twitter. I know our Warriors insider here on 95.7 The Game, Anthony Slater, tweeted it out. Here it is. Buddy Hield on Draymond Green, who made 3 threes tonight. Quote, I keep telling him he belongs to this world. Warriors want to shoot threes. I tell him he has a clip. And if that's not like the theme of the Warriors this season, I don't know what is. I mean, Lindy Waters talking about how he's always got a strap on him. He's always ready to shoot no matter what. If he's played leading up to that moment, if he's cold coming off the bench. And Buddy Hield saying similar things about Draymond Green, who, remember, shot really, really well from three-point range last year. Last year, 39.5% from deep, Draymond Green. And tonight he was 3 for 5 from downtown, 5 of 11 from the field. He scored 14 points, 6 assists, 4 rebounds, had 5 blocked shots. That's part of what frustrated Zion Williamson all night long tonight. Okay, we'll take our first break here on Warriors Wrap-Up. When we come back, we'll take your calls, 888-957-9570. That's also the Comcast Business text line. Plus, Warriors head coach Steve Kerr has also addressed the media post-game. We'll hear from Coach Kerr and a whole lot more as we continue to wrap up the Warriors' 104-89 win over the Pelicans. The Dubs now 4-1. The Pelicans 2-3. The Warriors sweep this back-to-back against the Pelicans. More on the other side. It's Marc Grandi with you as Warriors Wrap-Up continues right here on 95.7 The Game.
Bop on 95.7 The Game.
Welcome back. Marc, Grandi with you here live from Chase Center as we react to another Warriors win. This time the final score over the Pelicans, 104-89 in favor of the Warriors. And shout out to my guy Cam Williams on the ones and twos back at our 95.7 The Game studios, because I don't know if he knew I wanted to talk about that play, the highlight that he just called. You heard Tim Roy, voice of the Warriors, describe it awesomely as he always does. End of the first half, the Buddy Hield buzzer-beating three. That's the play of the night. That was the play of the night for the Golden State Warriors, and an underrated, important one, because if the Warriors don't get that three-pointer, they don't take the momentum with them into the second half, and they began the second half on a really nice run. But just to give you the context for that play, it was a 4-point Warrior lead, and then Brandon Ingram made a three with like 3 seconds left in the first half. Warriors inbound, as always, after a made basket under the Pelicans' hoop, and it's Draymond inbounding the ball, and you've got 3.3 seconds, I think is what it was. So you don't have a lot of time to just catch the ball on the block, on the opposite block, right? Your defensive half of the court, and call for a screen and get a play going. You got to go quick. So there's this innate connection on that play between Buddy Hield and Draymond Green. Buddy Hield with the defenders draped on him because they just want to deny him the basketball. So they're playing between Buddy and Draymond, who's inbounding the basketball, which means Buddy has some space behind him, right? He starts just sprinting down the court, getting away from the guys who are face guarding him. And Draymond, you would think maybe throw over the top of the defense, but then you're in trouble if the defender further down the court comes up and he can leap and at least just knock it away, or maybe intercept it, and maybe it's a bucket the other way. So Draymond, the incredible passer that he is, tries a bounce pass and threads it between 3 different Pelicans defenders and perfectly hits Buddy Hield in stride on the bounce at around half court. Buddy just beats one racing Pelicans defender to the ball, and he has so much positive momentum that he's able to just skip past him really quick, and he turns into an open left wing three, and he hits it at the buzzer, and suddenly it felt like the Pelicans were going to take the momentum in the half. The Warriors do. It was an awesome play, and I have a stat of the night for you. I haven't given it to you yet, and I had a play of the night for you. That was the play of the night. I thought it was a huge, huge moment for the Golden State Warriors in this basketball game. Without it, I'm not sure how the second half would have gone, because, again, it was a 1-point game, and then Buddy Hield hit that to make it a 4-point game, and the Warriors opened up the second half on a really nice run. About 3 minutes in, they were up by 11, so they outscored the Pelicans by 7, nearly 3 minutes in. They pushed the lead up to 14 with 7.5 to go in the third quarter. They were up by 16 about halfway through the third. They went on a 21-9 run to open that third quarter. And some of it, I think you got to credit to the fact that they had momentum going into the halftime break. They felt good about themselves going into the halftime break, and that was all because of Draymond and Buddy Hield. I'll tell you what, those two, that play, that doesn't really feel like a play that a couple of guys who are only playing in their 5th game together make. That feels like a Draymond and Steph play. That feels like a Draymond and Clay play, because they've been on the same team and they've done things like that in moments like that for a decade plus now. That didn't feel like a 5th game of the year new teammate play. That felt like guys that had been working together for a long time, and I was impressed by that play, and it was a big moment in this basketball game. Draymond Green to Buddy Hield. How about this as well for the Golden State Warriors? And then we'll get to Warriors head coach Steve Kerr. The Warriors, without Steph Curry this year, they're now 2-0. They're perfect without Stephen Curry, and this comes after last year when they were 3-5 without Steph. One of those wins, really 2 of them, don't really mean much because they were end of the year against Utah, both of them, when Utah was actively, probably they'll never admit to it, but it seemed like they were actively trying to lose basketball games. So really in games where the opponent was actually trying to win, the Warriors were 1-5 without Steph last year. They're 2-0 without him this year. So positive development. I know you could say opponent, Pelicans dealing with their own injuries, but still, the Pelicans, even with the injuries, specifically last night, tonight's a little bit of a different story. You're also without McCollum and Herb Jones, already without DeJounte Murray and Trey Murphy III. But you still beat a quality basketball team, a team that trots out Zion Williamson and Brandon Ingram. There's a couple of good players. This is still the best team the Warriors have played this year, even tonight's team, I would argue, even with their injuries. So quality win for the Warriors. You do it without Steph, you do it without Wiggins, you do it without Melton, and you're now 4-1 on the season, and you're 2-0 without Steph Curry. Okay, let's hear from Warriors head coach Steve Kerr post-game earlier tonight, reacting to the Warriors' win over the Pelicans. The score again, 104-89 Dubs. They're now 4-1 this season. Here's Warriors head coach Steve Kerr post-game tonight, breaking it all down. Now, there's Steve Kerr post-game earlier tonight after the Warriors win over the New Orleans Pelicans. Again, the final score tonight, 104-89. Talking about that second quarter, Steve Kerr, and he's right. I mean, that was the ugliest quarter of the night by quite a margin for the Warriors. They only scored 20 points in that quarter. They scored 28 in the first, 20 in the second, 31 in the third, 25 in the fourth. And in the fourth, there was a decent chunk of garbage time as well. They committed 7 turnovers in that second quarter. They committed 14 on the game. They had, let's see, how many turnovers did they commit? They committed 12 turnovers, the Warriors did, in the first half. They had 2 turnovers in the second half. They cleaned it up. And it was kind of trending towards a similar story as last night, but kind of reversed. The Warriors at halftime, let's see if I can bring up just the first half stats. Yeah, here they are. The Warriors led by just 4 at halftime. Despite the fact that they were shooting 51% from the field to New Orleans 33% from the field, they were shooting 47% from downtown to New Orleans 38% from downtown. But they only led by 4. How is that possible when you're out shooting your opponent by that much? Like, we're talking nearly 20 percentage points from the field and nearly 10 percentage points from downtown. Like, you should be up by double digits, and the Warriors only led by 4, and it was the turnovers. They committed 12 turnovers in the first half. It led to 11 New Orleans points, so about a point per turnover. New Orleans was efficient, turning those Warriors' mistakes into points the other way. The Pelicans weren't great, controlling the ball and protecting the ball themselves. I mean, they committed 8 first-half turnovers. You probably want to be closer to, 5 or 6 a half at the very most, somewhere around 10 turnovers a night. 11 is a pretty good number. The Warriors committed 12 in the first half. The Pelicans committed 8, but the Warriors only turned those 8 turnovers into 5 points off turnovers. So the Pelicans had the edge by 6 points on points off turnovers, and I said a double-digit lead should be the expectation when you shoot that well, comparatively speaking, to your opponent. You led by 4. The points off turnover differential was 6 points. If you are even on the points off turnovers, you get 6 more points off your turnovers. Your turnovers forced, you would have led by 10 points. So that was kind of the difference in the first half. That was why it was close, was the Warriors' turnovers. And that was the same exact story, but flipped last night for the Pelicans. The Pelicans were shooting the ball so well in the first half, specifically the first 14 minutes of the basketball game, all of the first quarter, and then the first couple of moments of the second quarter. But why were the Warriors in the basketball game at halftime? It was because of the turnovers. And let me find the exact numbers for you from last night. Give me a sec here. At halftime, where is this? Hold on a second. At halftime, here it is. At halftime last night, the Pelicans only led by 4, despite the fact that they shot 52% to the Warriors' 33% from the field. They shot 36% from downtown to the Warriors' 26% from downtown. Again, this is last night. The Pelicans, very similar to the Warriors tonight, shot 20% better than their opponents in the first half last night and shot 10% better from deep than their opponents last night. Literally, it's just the roles reversed. What was the reason the Warriors were somehow only down by 4? This time the Warriors were up by 4 tonight. It was the same reason why the Warriors' lead wasn't larger. It was turnovers. The Warriors committed 12 turnovers in the first half tonight. The Pelicans committed 15 in the first half last night, and the Warriors turned that into 18 points off turnovers in the first 24 minutes. This was kind of a role reversal. The only thing that changed, the Pelicans did not come out and dominate the third and fourth quarters like the Warriors did last night. The Warriors, and I think, again, a big part of this was the Draymond to Buddy Hield buzzer-beating 3 to close the half to put the Warriors up 4. You kind of give them some semblance of momentum going into half, and instead of only being up 1 and thinking, man, how the hell is this nearly a tie game? We've dominated this basketball game. Instead, you're up 4, you're feeling good about yourselves, and that carries over into the third quarter, into the fourth quarter, and you ultimately come out and you win the basketball game. Going away, some more garbage time down the stretch, and the Warriors win by 15 points, 104-89. So I think that was a really big moment in this game. The Warriors were in danger of letting what happened to the Pelicans last night. They were in danger of letting that happen to them tonight. They did not. They came out of the halftime break, and as Steve Kerr was talking about, played much smoother basketball. They were more in rhythm offensively. They simply stopped turning the ball over. 12 turnovers in the first half. They committed 2 turnovers in the entire second half of this basketball game. Really, really nice performance from the Warriors, specifically in quarter 3 when they locked down defensively, only allowed 22 points, and they scored 31. That was their highest scoring quarter of the game. And they did it when, Buddy Hield got going a little bit in that third quarter. They got some points from everybody. I mean, really, it's the story of the game. You could see it in the third quarter by itself. In the third quarter, the Warriors scored 31 points. They got 8 of those points from Trayce Jackson-Davis. They got 6 They got 7 from Buddy Hield, who got going offensively in that third, 6 from Draymond Green, 5 from Brandon Pajemski, and a couple from Moses Moody. It was a balanced scoring effort for the Warriors, and that third quarter really encapsulates exactly how the full game went for the Golden State Warriors. So a nice effort. You win the basketball game. You're now 4-1 on the year, and you go out on a nice long road trip coming up, and you try to improve on your standing here. One other thing that Steve Kerr mentioned, and this is going to be our stat of the night here on Warriors Wrap Up on 95.7 The Game. I've had both of my special segments here kind of spoiled. Cam Williams doing a great job on the ones and twos, playing the exact highlight that I wanted to highlight. Great job, Cam. For our play of the night, that Draymond to Buddy Hield buzzer-beating 3, and Steve Kerr talking about his challenges. That was my stat of the night for tonight. Draymond Green was called for a foul on a Zion drive late in the second quarter. Kerr challenges it, and he wins again. And at that point, there was another challenge that came later, but at that point, Steve Kerr had called 4 challenges in the first 5 games of the year for the Warriors. All had been on Draymond Green plays, Draymond Green fouls, right? And he got all 4 of them reversed. And this has historically been not the Warriors' best area of success. They have generally struggled, and they're usually near the bottom of the pack in terms of getting reviews right, getting challenges correct, getting those calls overturned. And I think the reason why is what Steve Kerr said in the postgame. I think it was a question asked by our Warriors insider Anthony Slater. He essentially said, yeah, well, sometimes, you challenge a play to show that you've got your guys back. And I think sometimes Steve Kerr might challenge a play. One, because it's late in the game. You're going to call a timeout anyway. You might as well. And use it or lose it. You don't carry those over to the next game. But also it's like, yeah, you know what? I'm not so sure I believe you that it's going to get overturned, Draymond, or whoever the potential guilty party might be. But I'll do it. I'll support you. I'll show that I have your back. Through the first 4 challenges of the year, which was through the first half tonight, they were all on Draymond potential fouls, and they were all overturned. That's our stat of the night. Then the perfect streak got upset later in the second half. Draymond Green was called for a foul on Zion Williamson again. Kerr challenges again. This time it fails. So the streak kind of over because Steve Kerr is no longer perfect challenging Draymond foul calls, but all 5 challenges have still been on Draymond Green foul calls, and it's so funny. We're getting to a point where almost every time Draymond's whistled for a foul, he gives the little, twirly finger telling Steve Kerr, challenge it, let him foul him, challenge it. And, to Draymond's credit, he's generally been right this year, and so has Steve Kerr as a result. So that was a fun moment in this basketball game as well. That's our stat of the night. Draymond Green, 5 foul calls challenged so far this year by Steve Kerr. 4 of them, the first 4, have been overturned. I also think we got to talk about Jonathan Kuminga coming off the bench once again for the Golden State Warriors tonight. And I thought Kuminga was solid once again. He played 27 minutes off the bench. He had 16 points, the Warriors' second leading scorer. He had 4 rebounds, a couple of assists, only turned the ball over once, had a steal as well. 6 of 12 from the field. I really liked his decision-making in the first half. I think there were a couple of moments early in the third quarter where he settled for some jumpers. He took a 3. It was his only 3-point attempt of the half. Didn't really feel in rhythm. Took another deep 2 shortly after that. But I think if we're to look at his shot chart, and in fact I can bring it up here in just a second, I think the vast majority of his 12 field goal attempts were in or around the paint. And that is huge for Jonathan Kuminga and the Warriors because you just get him to where he's shooting within 7 feet, 10 feet maybe, and he's going to be highly effective. Yeah, here it is. Kuminga was 6 for 12 from the field. He took a left wing 3 early in the third quarter, missed that one. He took a 3 just inside the half circle beyond the free throw line, so not quite a three-pointer, but a little bit further away from the free throw line. Missed that one as well. Every other field goal attempt was in the paint, and of those 10 field goal attempts in the paint, he made 6 of them. 6 of 10 from in tight, including a couple of mid-range jumpers that he made from inside the paint. I thought I thought Jonathan Kuminga was much more decisive with the basketball, and he was just much more aggressive going to the rim, and he had a couple of really nice moments in this basketball game as well. There was a stretch where he had a dunk on one possession, and then he came back. No, it wasn't a dunk. Pardon me. He was driving. I forget who he drove past, but he went up against Zion once he got past his man and just jumped like straight into him, absorbed the contact. That's not an easy guy to go up against down low, and banked it in off the glass. And then the next possession, or maybe a couple of possessions after, same dribble move to the left, but instead of taking it right through the chest of the defender, kind of faked that he would, and then a little bit of a fade off the right foot on the left baseline, banked it in off the glass from like 7 feet out. It was a nice change of pace, not necessarily change of pace to the point where you're taking a jumper instead of getting inside, but it's a couple of moves, a couple of variations of moves for Jonathan Kuminga. So I thought he had a really nice game as well, and I know Steve Kerr post-game was also complimentary of Jonathan Kuminga off the bench. I think overall we've been a little bit too rough on Kuminga, and I mean all of us talking heads here on 95.7 The Game and elsewhere about Kuminga, and is he pouting? Is he upset that he's not starting? First of all, he's got to be upset he's not starting. Why wouldn't you be? I'd be upset. Now, you can't let it affect your play, and you can't, cause a stink in the locker room. That's when you get into trouble. But if you're not upset, I got news for you. You don't fit. You don't belong in this league. Kuminga should be upset, but he should use that for fuel and motivation. And I think through 2 games, it's been his best 2 games of the year. So positive returns for Jonathan Kuminga off the bench, in my opinion, as well. 16 points, 6 of 12 from the field. Only took 1 3. That's a big number for me. Buddy Hield talking about how all the Warriors shoot threes, and Steve Kerr spent so much of the preseason talking about it. I'm not sure I'd encourage that for Jonathan Kuminga because it's just not his strength. But he can be so good if he picks his spots and gets to the rim, especially when he's surrounded by shooters and you get all that open space in the middle part of the floor. I thought Kuminga was good in this game as well. Okay, couple more things to get to before we do hop on out of here on Warriors Wrap-Up on 95.7 The Game. First of all, we got to get to Crashing the Boards, which is brought to you by Chilton Auto Body, the Bay Area leader in collision repair. No Warriors in double digits on the rebounding tally tonight. However, we do have one who was just one away, and that was Trayce Jackson-Davis. This might have also been Trayce Jackson-Davis' best game of the year. I mentioned the 15 points, most of any Warriors starter. There were 2 Warriors off the bench that had more. Hield had 21 and Kuminga had 16. But Trayce Jackson-Davis, 15 points and 9 rebounds. He was 7 of 9 from the field. He played 20 minutes. 20 minutes and 9 rebounds. That's pretty good. That's almost a rebound every 2 minutes. That is elite stuff. If you're grabbing a rebound every 2 minutes or thereabouts, you might lead the league in rebounding because generally you're going to be playing more than 20 minutes a game. Trayce Jackson-Davis was a monster on the glass tonight, and that's why he gets the honor of crashing the boards tonight, which is brought to you again by Chilton Auto Body, the Bay Area leader in collision repair. Thank you to Chilton. Okay, last order of business before we say goodbye for the night. How about this, Warrior fans? The next Warriors home game. Do you know who the opponent is? Do you know who the Warriors' opponent is the next time they play a basketball game at Chase Center? That would be Klay Thompson and the Dallas Mavericks. The Warriors are going on a road trip right now. It's a 5-gamer at Houston on Saturday, at Washington on Monday, at Boston on Wednesday, at Cleveland on Friday, and then at Oklahoma City on Sunday. 5-game road trip. You've got a couple of Western Conference opponents that bookend the trip, and then Washington, Boston, and Cleveland, the middle 3 of the trip. And then you return home Tuesday, November 12th, 7 o'clock tip against the Dallas Mavericks on TNT, and of course here on 95.7 The Game. That is an in-season tournament game, and it also marks the return of Klay Thompson to Chase Center as a member of the Dallas Mavericks. And Raymond Ritter, the fabulous PR man for the Golden State Warriors, he has told us at 95.7 The Game that the Warriors will welcome back Klay in a way that we've never seen in the NBA. So I would make sure you're locked in to the Warriors' next home game. Warriors, Mavs, Tuesday, November 12th. Sure, it's going to be an emotional night. Klay Thompson's return to Chase Center, not wearing a Warriors jersey. Looking forward to that for sure. But first, we've got 5 Warrior road games: Houston, Washington, Boston, Cleveland, and OKC before the Warriors return home. All right, Warriors 4-1 on the year after tonight's 104-89 win over the Pelicans. A couple of big wins over a conference foe. The Dubs 4-1. The Pelicans, with the loss, they fall on the season to 2-3. All right, that'll do it for us here tonight on 95.7 The Game. Thanks so much to everyone for making this possible. Cam Williams behind the glass. My name is Marc Grandi, signing off. Thanks as well to the Warriors for putting me up in this office here inside of Chase Center. Really appreciate it as always. Another nice win for the Warriors. They go out on the road next, and we await more news on Steph Curry, who will be reevaluated on Friday. We'll have the news for you whenever it breaks on 95.7 The Game. Good night from Chase Center. Thanks so much for tuning in. Warriors win 104-89. We'll talk next time on 95.7 The Game.